Notre Dame football. Historical matchup this weekend. Tennessee State. Why is it a historic matchup? It's the first time in the history of Notre Dame football that they have played an FCS team. I kind of hope we keep it that way, personally. Um, there's good history to be made and there's bad history to be made. I don't want to say this is bad history to be made, but this is not the kind of history that I like to see from Notre Dame football. I feel like we're taking a step back here or a step down. In the standard, right? There is a golden standard at Notre Dame, and I feel like this is a huge step back from the golden standard to play an FCS team, which honestly, like, there's no positive for winning this game. This game is either hopefully a really good fundamental practice game or it's a season disaster. But there's no real positive outcome from playing an FCS team, in my opinion. Maybe my hot take for the day, but that's where I've got it. Tennessee State's coached by former Ohio State player and Heisman Trophy winner Eddie George. That's I'm glad we're doing that. I feel like we're kind of doing something for them. That's where we're at. So, if you want to place a bet on this game, you're also going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, because Vegas isn't even taking bets on this one. Now, does that mean Notre Dame will blow them out? Let's talk about that. So, Tennessee State University only averaged 18 points per game last year. They were a run-dominant football team. They'll probably melt the clock, so the score might not be as high as expected on Notre Dame's end, or at least as high as some anticipate. They did average nearly 5 yards per play, but they gave up a lot of sacks and tackles for loss. They actually gave up 38 sacks in the 11 games that they played last year. Pretty miserable. Tennessee State's quarterback, Draylon Ellis, completed 54% of his passes last season for 153, going 153 of 279, with only 8 touchdowns on the season. And like I said, he was personally sacked 35 times. There's a backup quarterback, or a couple backup quarterbacks that came in that make up for the other 3. The secondary might get tested a little bit here as we watch this game. They're going to pass the ball more than Navy did, but for the most part, they're going to move the ball on the ground. They run a spread offense. They've got size on both sides of the line. They've got decent size on both the offensive line and the D line. So it'll be a good learning experience for the Irish. Don't expect Tennessee State to just go away quietly. But the focus needs to be on fundamentals here this weekend. That spread offense, we've seen the spread offense. We used to play the spread offense at Notre Dame. It has the potential of creating some big plays, right? The idea is you spread the defense out. You try to get a lot of man coverages or open up zones, in the zone coverage, so that the read pass option, can open up. You get your RPOs, you get your play action to start kind of trying to work for you, right? Where you get a defender to bite on something that's not actually happening. And because the defense is so spread out, there should be a hole someplace and there should be an open person. We'll see it happen a couple times. Don't be surprised if there's a big gouge play or two, 20, 25 yards. That's just the nature of the spread. The focus here is that we want to get the defensive line adjusted to playing a normal offense. That's not something we saw last week against Navy, right? Navy runs triple option. They're probably the only team that we'll see this year that'll run triple option in any form or fashion. I'm talking about, like, just running triple option plays, right? Like, forget a full offense. We probably won't see many, triple option type plays for the rest of the year. People just don't do it. So now we've got a normal offense to play, and the defense needs to adjust to that. It'll help us going to North Carolina State. in the coming week, and it'll help us against Central Michigan, which North Carolina State's a little bit of a trap game in my opinion. Central Michigan should be okay. Again, that's another one that we'll talk about later, but no real positive for playing them other than, like the outcome if we lose is catastrophic. The outcome if we win is kind of like, well, that's what was expected, guys. All right. So what do we expect from the Irish? Well, let's start before the game even starts. Coin toss. If we win, we're going to defer. Almost guaranteed. I can't imagine us doing anything else. The focus will be to establish the run game, just like we did against Navy. Expect to see Estime carry the ball. Audric Estime, he'll get a lot of carries in the first couple of drives. And they want to work on his fundamentals too, right? You heard me ask earlier in the week after Saturday's game, did he get benched? I posted on Twitter. The answer was absolutely yes. He got benched. Coach Freeman said, "Look, we have a standard here. And putting the ball on the ground and holding the ball loose doesn't uphold that standard." So yeah, he sat for a little while. We talked to him. It's supposed to be the learning experience, and now we have an opportunity to go get out there on the football field and continue the learning experience. The coaches are going to use this game to assess players if they're meeting that standard, that golden standard that I keep discussing. They're going to look at every player on the field and observe what they're doing. And if we're sticking to the basics here, that's a lot easier as a coach or as an analyst who's watching the game, to see is the line blocking properly? Is the defensive line shedding blocks well? Are they moving? Are they ripping and swimming well on the defensive line? Are they shedding blocks well? How are we doing? What do our stunts look like? Right? Are those being executed correctly? And they can use all of that to assess the team moving forward, so that when we get to Central Michigan a week from Saturday, we're ready. Passing game, Sam Hartman goes through his progressions really well. Expect the ball to get spread out among all of the wide receivers. I can't imagine that there's going to be a consistent target, just like there wasn't against the Navy game. The ball is going to go to whoever is open and the best player, and he doesn't really stare down a lot of throws. So no tight ends got targeted last weekend. I would be surprised if that were the case this weekend. I think we want to get the tight ends into the game and get them some catches. So there will be some plays called for them. It's going to depend a lot on whether or not the tight ends get open, right? Because if they're not open, Hartman's going to go through his progression and he's going to look at somebody else. Defense, they'll likely make some efforts to get some takeaways this weekend. I can see this going exactly the way it did against Navy. People were kind of bashing the defense a little bit for trying to strip the ball. I like it. Practice stripping the ball in an environment like this. Please practice stripping of the ball against Navy when you're that far ahead. Let's figure out how to do that effectively, so that when we play Ohio State in 5 weeks or in 4 weeks, we can go out there and get some takeaways and win a freaking football game, right? That's how it's got to go. But nothing crazy in the way of blitz schemes. I don't think any of that's going to happen. The only way that's going to happen is if we get the second string in there, and we just want them to try something. But fundamentals first, ladies and gentlemen. That's the way it's got to work. And then, as I've said again and again, just sticking to the basics. I think we'll see a lot of the second and third string in the fourth quarter. That's a really high possibility. My score prediction, 63-0, Fighting Irish. Go Irish. God bless. Love y'all. Keep looking up. See you soon.